Welcome to the Microdosing for Healing podcast. I'm your host, Casey Garrett, and together we'll be discovering and learning from inspiring voices of healers, medicine keepers, and visionaries. Every episode, we'll explore the world of health, vibrant wellness, and natural medicine for a new era of human society. Welcome to today's episode. All right. Hello, everybody, to this session. I'm so excited to introduce you today to a woman who I don't know that we would be here today if it wasn't for her, actually. So going back in time, I was leading one of my immersion programs, and a woman in my immersion said, "Casey, are you a projector?" And I was like, "I have no idea what you mean." "What do you mean? What is that?" And she said, "Oh, it's this thing called human design. You should check it out. I think you're probably a projector." And lo and behold, she showed me how to run my chart, and I was like, wow. But at the same time, I was like, this is a lot. Like, there were all these arrows and these colors and this shading and the gates. And I was like, I don't even know where to start. Totally, right? Which is a lot of people's response to when you first discover human design. And so I looked around for resources, and I am ever so grateful that I came across Evelyn Levenson, her work, and her book, Becoming an Empowered Projector. Because that book, of all of the resources of human design, if you know me and you're a projector, I've probably sent this book to you. It is such a practical, down-to-earth, easy way to understand how human design and projectorhood specifically can inform your daily lived embodied reality. So I'm so excited to have Evelyn with us today to share with you, to share a little bit more about her work and her background, and just to teach y'all today. So welcome, Evelyn. So good to have you.
Thank you so much. Delighted to be here.
Oh, can you start off for listeners and share, first of all, your personal design and also your origin story? How did human design come to you?
Sure. So I am a 1-3, what we call a 1-3 projector. That's my profile as a 1-3. So I'm investigative and I'm experimental, which comes through on every aspect of what I do and how I live. And when I found out I was a projector and a 1-3, I looked back at my life and went, oh my God, that's exactly how I have functioned all of my life. It was amazing. I'm also a splenic projector, which means that my decision-making authority is from the splenic center, which is all about it's all about safety and health and well-being and keeping me safe. And so I have an instant intuitive hit about what feels correct, what feels healthy, what feels sustainable for me, and what doesn't. So that's how I'm designed to make my decisions.
Wonderful. And how did you come across human design? I always love hearing people's story, how it found you. Yeah.
It did find me for sure. I had been in the government world and in the business world for many years, and I have an MBA. I have a master's in public administration, a master's in business administration. I had done very well in my career, and to external look, I looked like I was doing really well and was really successful, but I was burned out. And I knew there was something missing. There was something more that I could do. There was a different way that I could interact with people and make a difference with people. I had no idea what that was, but I just sensed that there was something really missing. So I kind of dropped out and was looking and searching. And I ended up taking a health coaching program because I thought I've always been interested in health. Maybe that's some way I could help people. And one of the teleclasses, this tells you how old it was. It was before Zoom. It was when we were doing teleclasses. One of the teleclasses was about EFT, the emotional freedom techniques, which was really interesting. And there were two people leading it. And one of the people's name was Karen Curry. And there was something about the way she spoke, about what she said about people and how she understood people and behavior and her optimism. And it just grabbed me. I thought, wow, there's something about this woman that's really extraordinary. And so I went to her website, and she had not mentioned human design at all. during this teleclass. It was all about EFT. I went to her website, and there was a whole section on her website about something called human design. And I thought, what is this? And the more I read, the more excited I got. I went, wow, that's interesting. Wow, that's really cool. Wow, I need to learn more about this. So I requested my chart and got my chart and looked at it and thought, ooh, this is really ugly and weird, and it doesn't tell me anything. What am I supposed to do with this? And there was almost no information available online at the time. This was 2008. And I read the little bit that really didn't say anything. And I was really busy. I was taking care of my mom at the time who had cancer. And but a few months later, I finally had time and looked at it again and went, okay, what does this mean? And started looking at it. And I read the description about projector and went, wow, that really describes me. That's remarkable. And I had my partner's chart run, Charlie. Turns out he's a projector. And I went, that's weird because we're really different in a lot of ways. But I read the description to him and he said, that really sounds like me. That explains a lot of things. I went, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. That's interesting. I ran another chart for another friend who happened to be a projector, and it resonated with her. And I thought, there's something to this. So I signed up for Karen's course, her training course, which at the time was one 10-month program. And I started into it, and within about a month or two, I realized that this is really what I want to do with my life. It helped me so much. I want to help other people with this information. There isn't anything on this planet that I would rather do than this. And since then, I have studied and done readings and taught courses. It's been quite a journey.
Oh, I love it. And so, so grateful. Yeah. I'd love for you to share what is human design? If someone who is here listening to us and discovering human design for the first time, like how do you describe to people what it is?
That's actually tough to do because it's so encompassing. It is of sorts, it's a personality assessment system of sorts. But it goes far deeper and has much deeper wisdom about how people function, and that we are imprinted with certain energetic formation at the time of birth, and that energetic structure kind of guides who we are in the world. We still have choice within that structure. We can align with it or not. But it gives us a sense, when we understand it, it gives us a sense of how we're designed to function. And it's not a set of rules. I think sometimes that gets misunderstood in the human design environment. Well, I'm supposed to do this. I can't do that. I have to have an invitation. And it's like, no. This is a guidance for how you can best function. You can choose to do that or not, but it really makes a huge difference. And when you begin to embody that and work with it, life begins to flow more easily. It's like instead of paddling upstream really, really hard, especially for projectors, and we get rewarded for hard work. It's like, oh, I worked so hard. Oh, no, turn the boat around, go with the current, let the current do the work, and life gets easier.
Beautifully said. Yeah. I've been surprised by how often I use human design in my work of guideship, because we're slowly but surely realizing that healing work, we focus on the physical symptoms or the mental health symptoms, but it really starts with our energy. And when you understand a person's energy and their kind of blueprint and design, and you orient someone's healing around that as an individual, it's a game changer. It's completely different. It's so much more personalized and comprehensive. So beautifully.
And it gets right to the core of what's going to work for that person.
Absolutely.
Even just more casual or sort of everyday interactions, not deep healing work, but even everyday interactions. If you know someone is a generator, a manifesting generator, you can ask them yes or no questions. And that alone is huge in terms of interacting. They may not know it consciously, but at an unconscious energetic level, they're responding to your yes or no questions.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Another thing I found that's so eye-opening for people is after they learn they're a projector, then they learn what type of projectors. I often say flavor. What flavor of projector are you? So your authority, for example, like you're a splenic projector, I'm a mental projector. So for
Right.
those of the folks here who are new to projectorhood and discovering their
Hmm.
projector, can you run
Yes,
through a little bit of the types of projectors and
sure.
some of the defining features of
Hmm.
them?
Sure, sure. Well, this aspect of human design is called authority. And authority means this is the way that you are designed to implement your type's strategy. And as a projector type, the strategy is to, quote, wait for invitations. Okay, we can talk a lot more about that in a moment because that's really important. But your authority tells you how to implement that strategy. Okay, the most common of the authorities for projectors is emotional authority. And emotional authority means that you have emotional ups and downs, like waves, up and down, and you do not have truth and clarity in the moment. When you are asked something, when you need to make a decision, your clarity doesn't come in the moment. It is influenced by where you are in your emotional wave. So if you're high in your emotional wave, your response may be, "Oh yeah, that sounds good." When you're low on your emotional wave, it may be, "Ooh, not sure." Ugh. And so for you, if you're an emotional projector, in order to get clarity, you need to wait through your emotional wave. Give yourself as much time as possible because clarity only comes through waiting. Okay. And I have sort of a rule of thumb for emotional projectors. And that rule of thumb says if it ain't a hell yeah consistently, then it's probably a no. Okay.
Beautiful
So
advice. Yes.
so if it's sometimes yes, sometimes no, sometimes yes, sometimes no, the answer is probably no. Now, I'm also a pragmatist, and sometimes we do what we got to do. I understand that, but if you can really pay attention to how you're feeling through the wave, and know that you don't know if it's consistently yes until you give it time. You don't know if it's consistently no. If it's consistently yes, easy. If it's consistently no, also easy. If it's yes or no, yes or no, yes or no, then it gets tricky, and then it's easy to feel indecisive and confused. But when you can use that, okay, if it isn't consistently yes, then if I say yes, every time I hit that no part of my wave, I may regret that decision. And so to protect yourself from regret and from making decisions that aren't really a good fit, it's usually best to say no unless it's consistently yes.
That's brilliant and so helpful in our present day society because we don't allow for that in our communication.
Right,
Everything is so
right.
instantaneous and
Mm-hmm,
get back to me on
mm-hmm,
this email
mm-hmm.
and respond right away. And
Right,
so
right.
I think we really empower our emotional friends, when we
Yes,
say, here's an opportunity, an invitation for you,
right,
take your
right.
time and feel through it and get back to
Right,
me. Yeah.
right. At an energetic level, we also say if the answer or the decision requires an immediate answer and you don't feel energetically ready, then it's not for you anyway.
Hmm.
Just trust that if it's correct for you, it will wait until you have the clarity for it.
Good advice.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yes.
The, the next most popular or most numerous of the authorities is splenic for projectors. And splenic, I'm a splenic projector. And splenic, as I was saying earlier, means that I have an instant sense in the moment, right now, of yes, that feels correct, or no, it doesn't. Yes, that feels healthy and safe for me. I can tell, oh, that person's lying, or it's not safe. And it's not a sacral response like generators and manifesting generators have, where they're responding to everything and anything. The splenic response is just when it matters, sort of when it's important. And it can be a powerful yes, it can be a powerful no. And it doesn't have to be like a threat to your environment or to say yes or no. I remember one time, this is decades before I knew human design, I was shopping for a lamp, and I have this weird relationship with lamps. I don't like most lamps, right? and I found this lampshade in this store, and I picked it up. It was one of those hanging ones that's sort of shaped like this. And I literally held it to my chest and walked around the rest of the store with it, like, this is mine. I'm going to look around, but this is mine. And like when I found out I was splenic, I went, oh my God, that was like a full body splenic response. That's my lamp. So it's a funny example, but it is an example. Um, the next one is called self-projected, and this is the most rare of the authorities. And this is where the decision-making process for the self-projected projector is about feeling if something feels like it is them, if it is aligned with who they are and who they want to be becoming. It's about identifying the vibrational energy of it and see if it's truly aligned with who you are. And that's a little tough. One of the best ways to access that is through speaking, through talking, through verbally processing. And all projectors benefit from verbally processing, but there are several of the authorities that really need to verbally process. And verbally process means to use someone kind of as a sounding board, make sure that they agree, and to be clear that you're not asking for their advice. You just need to kind of bounce what you're saying off of them and kind of either hear it coming back or literally hear it coming out. Oftentimes, as projectors, because we don't have that sacral sense of what's right in the moment for the most part, except for splenic, most projectors don't have clarity about what really feels correct for them. And it's not easy to access it internally. And the best way to access it is by verbally processing, by saying, because often you don't know how you feel about something until it comes out of your mouth. And then you go, oh my God, that's how I feel about that. That clarity comes through the articulation, and not through accessing it internally. And sometimes it's very possible to train yourself to hear it as it's coming out. But sometimes you don't even hear it when it's coming out. And that's where you need the feedback from someone else to feed it back to you. Often I do that with clients they're talking about this and that and this and that. And I go, well, when you talked about that, your energy was kind of, but when you talked about this other option, your energy really lit up. And they go, oh, yeah, you're right. I hadn't noticed that before. So that's really a way for the self-projected to identify what feels correct for them or not. Um, the next is ego projected. And ego projected means they have a defined will center. And a defined will center gives you consistent access to willpower energy, which is brilliant and beautiful and really useful for projectors, can also be what we call that double-edged sword, where you can push and push and push with willpower energy and exhaust yourself and burn yourself out. And the decision-making process for the ego projected projector is to see what you have energy for, what you have the will to do. And I have a good friend who is ego projected, and she said when she finds herself saying, I will do that, that's a done deal. That's her willpower saying, I have the energy for it. I will make that happen. So again, with that, verbally processing can also help. When I will comes out of your mouth, then you have that clarity of, yes, I have the willpower for it. And finally, we have the mental projectors. Sometimes on charts, it says no definition. Or no authority, which is like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do with that? And I know, Casey, you are a mental projector. By the way, Ra Uru Hu, the founder of human design, said that mental projectors are the only true guides of the projectors. You are really here to do the guiding because you have nothing else in your way. No motors, no other distractions. You're the pure guide for us. And being a mental projector means you don't have any of those other factors that we talked about to help you make a decision. And that's where you really need to speak with others and verbally process and bounce things off. I still believe that it's still a body thing. It's still what it feels like in your body when you are communicating, when you are bouncing it off of people, whether it resonates or not. I think this is one of the beauties of human design, is it teaches that our minds may be really smart, but our bodies are much wiser. Our bodies are the sensors of energy. of alignment, of resonance. The body is the instrument that senses and feels that. The mind will just confuse you and make you crazy. So sometimes we have to pretend that our head is disconnected from our body and just tune into what's going on in your body. So even for the mental projector, you're really tuning into, how does it feel in my body when I talk about this? How does it resonate? Does that make sense for you, Casey? Does that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And I cannot overstate like the power of soundboarding that you speak to
Hmm.
as a mental
Hmm.
projector. And I work with a lot of self-projected projectors,
Yeah.
and we soundboard for each other all the time.
Nice.
And it's such a
Yeah.
fun practice because we
Yeah.
know each other's are doing it and we know what the
Yeah.
expectation is for the other, and to listen to each other come to clarity just as we speak is really,
Yes.
really beautiful. You can hear it in the
Yes.
tone and the
Exactly.
tenor. It's wonderful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That moment of ding, the clarity, which cannot be forced or rushed. It has to come in its own timing.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the things I have found a lot of people have struggle with when they learn their projector, like projector, does that mean I go around projecting?
Mm.
And actually, it's not really. It's a kind of the opposite in some ways.
Right.
And I love Karen Curry's take on projectors,
I was just
calling
going to bring
calling
that up.
us orchestrators.
Exactly.
I love that. And that makes so
Exactly.
much more sense to me, and
Yes.
like the way
Yes.
we operate and our purpose and our design in the world. So, yeah, I'd love for you
Exactly.
to share anything, reflection around that.
Exactly. As projectors, our role is to guide others, and specifically to guide the energy of others. Okay, because most people, sometimes projector guidance gets translated into manage other people. It's like, no, people don't like to be managed at all. At all. And so when we focus on managing the energy instead, that makes a big difference. And the orchestrator concept is brilliant because we're orchestrating the energies. We projectors are specifically designed to guide the energy of the generators and the manifesting generators. Okay. Together, those two types make up about 70%, 70% of the population. Okay. And as projectors, we're about 21% of the population. We're designed to orchestrate the consistent sacral energy of the generators and manifesting generators and help to guide them, the ones who are ready to be guided. You can't guide someone who doesn't want to be guided. It doesn't go well. But that's our role is to guide. And and guiding isn't doing, and guiding isn't pushing, and guiding isn't even instructing. It's kind of gently nurturing the fulfillment of potential.
That's so beautifully said. So, so beautifully said. That ties into my next question, which is a juicy one, maybe the juiciest for projectors, which is the waiting for the invitation
Yeah.
and the
Yes.
strategy, because
Yes. It's huge.
there's so much misunderstanding around
Yes.
this. And
Yes.
a lot of projectors that I've worked with, when they discover their projector, they're often like, oh, yeah, because as children, projectors, we see kind of, we see longer, we see further, we see systems and the way things
And
interact.
we see deeper.
We see deeper. And so lots of times, even as kids, we're like, why?
Right.
And
Right.
we see things and the way things can be optimized or
Yes.
enhanced, and we're already kind
Yes.
of guiding. And that's very eye-opening for projectors as they step into their experiment, is to know I have to wait for the invitation to offer my guidance. Otherwise,
Yes.
we're just like little
Yes.
bossy people telling
Exactly.
telling everybody what to do. And,
Exactly.
and
And people don't usually react well.
no, no, no. And it's a really different style of leadership, that of orientation,
Yeah.
of guiding energy versus telling people what to do, that we're
Exactly.
here for. So, can you speak a little bit about waiting for the invitation, maybe some
Hmm.
misconceptions around we're not literally
Yeah.
supposed to wait wait,
Right.
at our
Right.
park bench and wait for people to ask us
Right. And
things.
wait for it to drop into your lap.
Exactly. And what does
Right.
it look like to wait for the invitation in a real
Mm.
life aligned way?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, the whole topic of invitations is the main reason I wrote my book, because I was just so frustrated, first of all, being told that I had to wait for an invitation. It's like that feels so disempowering. Um, and the more I learned about it, and the more I was figuring out bit by bit how to empower myself and feel empowered as a projector, I saw other projectors kind of sitting on their hands doing nothing, waiting for the invitation. And I thought, this is not going to help the world if projectors are not empowered to step into their role and their fullness and their full expression in the world. So I really wanted to dispel the myth that we need an invitation for everything, because human design teaching really says that we benefit from an invitation for the big things in life, like career choice, like jobs, like romantic relationships or business partnerships or relationships, and where we live. Those are sort of large life impacting decisions and choices. And we don't have to have an invitation for those. It's just that invitations make it easier. That's the core that I want to get across to people, is you don't have to wait for an invitation, but if you do, if you can, it makes it easier. And here's why. As projectors, we have a penetrating aura. Our aura is designed to penetrate into the energy field of other people. And it's that penetration of their energy field that gives us information back about them and their energy. And that's what allows us to guide them. We're wired in that way to guide. Okay. Other types are wired for other things, like manifesting generators and manifestors are wired to make things happen. We are not wired to make things happen. It doesn't mean that we can't make things happen. It's just not as easy for us because we're not wired for that. We are wired for guiding, and guiding happens best when it's invited. And the advantage of waiting for an invitation, especially for the big things, is an invitation kind of implies that something is already happening and someone is specifically inviting you into it. Then, Casey, would you like to come do this with me? I've got this thing going on. Would you like to come help with it or participate in it? And in that way, as a projector, then you can just step in and do your brilliance without having to make it all happen in the first place, because making it all happen in the first place is not what we're designed for. And when we do that part, then we're exhausted by the time we need to do our brilliance. and so it's to our tremendous advantage and benefit to wait for an invitation when it's practical, and especially for those big things in life. We don't need an invitation to go to the movies or to do our laundry or to do our grocery shopping. I heard this horrible story recently that someone posted, a man, I think, a projector man posted online that he was having a health crisis, but he wasn't going to go to the emergency room because he hadn't been invited. I mean, I'm sorry, that's crazy. You need to take care of yourself, and you do not need an invitation to take care of yourself and be good to yourself and ensure that you're all right. So
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a big one. It's a huge edge and a huge learning curve for projectors. And I've come to really recognize, having been through several cycles of burnout in my life before, to wait for the invitation is actually very protective of us and protective of our energy, because it kind of helps us be discerning. Because especially I'm a 5 line. So I am one of those people who are like, oh, I can do it. I can do
Jump
it for
in.
you. I can do it.
I can save the day.
And so I've really had lots of work around when I'm asked to do something because someone else wants to do something versus am I really passionate about this? Because my 5 line will go, sure, I can do this and sure, I can do that. But waiting for that aligned invitation has just been very protective so that I can pour all of myself into only those things that I'm truly passionate about.
Yes. And the trick is, while you're waiting for an invitation, is to take really good care of yourself, to be in bliss as much as you can, and to do the things that you love, and to prepare yourself to be ready for the invitation when it comes. So you don't need to have an invitation to take a course or to even get certified, or just do what you need to do to prepare for the invitations that you want, so that you can step right in when you're ready, and you're productively using that time, not sitting there fretting, going, oh, I haven't gotten an invitation, when it's going to happen, it's why is it taking so long? It can be very frustrating and very demoralizing if you're doing that. And this actually brings me to a core message that I really want to get across to everyone. And that is that self-value the way we feel about ourselves, is an inside job. It has nothing to do with invitations or recognition from outside of us. Okay. Now, recognition and invitations from outside of us are important. I'm not saying they're not important, but they're not how we define ourselves and our own value. We need to separate them and be our own advocate and provide our own recognition and internalize our self-value so that you feel good about yourself no matter what is happening on the outside, whether you're getting invitations or not. Because where we get into trouble as projectors is when we are relying on external invitations and recognition in order to assess how we are, our value. And it makes sense, when you understand what you're being told in human design. It's like, well, if others are recognizing if I have value, then others will recognize my value and invite me. And if they're not recognizing me and inviting me, that must mean that I don't have value. I don't have anything of value to say or to contribute. And that's that's devastating. We need to stand strong in who we are. I use the analogy of a lighthouse for projectors. I love that analogy. It's like standing strong on the shore, knowing who you are and where you are and what your role is. And you put out your powerful beacon of who you are as a projector, and you will attract the people who want your guidance. You will attract the ships who want your guidance into that harbor. The ships that don't want that harbor, they just keep going. No harm, no foul. They're just not your ships. Okay. And so feeling good about who you are and what you have to offer will put out the vibe that is an attractive vibe. Okay. When you are feeling down about yourself or frustrated or angry or impatient, you're not going to attract a positive energy. So you have to really work on your own internal energy. In my book, I talk about being findable and invitable. Right? Findable meaning let people know who you are and what you're up to, not in a pushy way, because pushy doesn't work for projectors, but you want to help people find you to invite you. You don't want to be the best kept secret or mystery and make it hard for people. I said, try to stack the deck in your favor as much as possible. Be visible, but not in a pushy way, and then be invitable, meaning your energy is attractive. And you do that by feeling good about yourself.
Wonderful. That was gold right there, everybody. If you have one takeaway, that was absolute gold. Yes. Often when I'm training and mentoring guys, I often tell them, like, no one can know you and see you until you see yourself.
Right.
You have
Exactly.
to see yourself first. And the more you see yourself and are really clear,
right,
then other people see you based on that. So yeah, it's always a little mind bending because we're so conditioned by
yes,
push more, produce
yes,
more, be more,
right. Jostle into position.
Totally. And projectors I work with are often blown away. It's actually the better you take care of yourself, the more clarity and coherence you have. And they're like, oh my God, I just went for a spa day and all of a sudden all these invitations came in and it's like
exactly.
Yes.
We train others how to treat us by how we treat ourselves. It's an inside job. It starts at home.
Beautiful.
I do have a story about invitation. So I was learning human design and I attended a potluck dinner. It was like a monthly thing that I would go to sometimes. And I was in the parking lot and I was getting out of my car at the same time a lady was getting out of her car. And I'd met her a couple times before. And we said hi and we sort of walked to the door together. And I knew that she was the one who organized the health fair, the sort of woo-woo, alternative kind of health fair that she did like twice a year. So I didn't think much of it. We went upstairs and we went our separate ways. And then we found ourselves in line behind each other for food at the potluck. And so we were talking and I said, how's it going with the fair? And she said, it's going really well, really, really excited about it. And she asked me what I was up to. And I started telling her about human design because I was just learning it. I was maybe four months into my training program at that point. And I was excited about it, but I wasn't ready to do anything. And she looked at me. I was talking to her about human design. She looked at me. She said, Evelyn, you need to have a booth at the fair. I really want you to have a booth at the fair. Call me tomorrow. We'll get it set up. And I remember even in that moment, recognizing that was an invitation. Not only was it an invitation, but it's an invitation from someone who had the authority to make the invitation, which is really important. And it went beautifully. It was my first experience. It was great. I did little mini readings. I got some clients from it. It really went swimmingly well. And a related story, Karen Curry Parker's first husband was a projector, and he would write articles for magazines, but he often didn't submit them. And his mother would kind of urge him, why don't you submit your articles, submit your articles? But he knew he was a projector. And he said, well, I need to be invited in order to submit those, which isn't really true, but that was how he was viewing it at the time. I need to be invited. And she said, well, okay, I invite you to submit your articles. And he said, no, that it doesn't work that way, Mom. It has to be someone who has the authority to actually issue the invitation, not just your mom.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Oh, I'd love to touch on one of the other edges I see with projectors often is they're like, okay, I'm supposed to rest a lot and I'm supposed to take naps a lot and I'm not supposed to be productive. And does that mean I can't be productive? Like I really I'm ambitious and I love
Yeah.
to create and I want a full life. And so are they saying that I can't build things and make things? And I loved in your book, I love that you highlight so many leaders who are projectors because you start to see a theme and a thread like
Yes.
Abraham Lincoln
Yes.
and Jimmy
Right.
Carter and
Right.
Barack Obama and John
Right.
F. Kennedy. I was like,
Right.
okay, there's a
Yes.
theme here
Right.
going, and it's just a different type of power. It's a different type
Yes.
of leadership
Yes.
demonstrated. So can you
Yes.
can you speak to that like misunderstanding sometimes that projectors can't do and make significant things?
Right. That is just such a myth. It is not correct at all. As projectors, we do not have the consistent, like I call it energizer bunny energy of the generators and manifesting generators with their defined sacral center. But we can outwork manifesting generators easily with our hands tied behind our backs, but not indefinitely, not consistently, not we can work. In fact, we're kind of designed to work intensely when it's appropriate, and then we need to rest. So it's not the energizer bunny, da, 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 keep going, keep going. I call it the energizer bunny on steroids. You kind of go crazy, and then you need time to rest. And when you understand that about your own energy process, you can plan accordingly. You can know, okay, I have this big project. I'm going to work like crazy, and then I'm going to take a few weeks off, or just really manage your time and your energy and the demands on you in order to accommodate working really intensely when it's appropriate and when the energy is there for it, and not, and then resting. And I had the great good fortune many years ago to hear Lisa Nichols speak in person. She was in the movie The Secret, and she was amazing to watch on stage. And she shared this very wonderful analogy, which I actually put in my book, that says, when you give to others, give from your saucer, not from your cup. Which means keep your cup so full that it overflows, that you have plenty of extra to give, that you have excess to give freely and generously. But do not give from your cup, because when you give from your cup, you're depleting your resources. So you need to keep your resources so full. So it means our job is to keep our cup so full that it overflows. Like, yeah, I like that job. I want that job. And when we do that, when we tend to our energy, when we tend to and find the things that fill our cup, that bring us joy, that give us vitality, that restore our energy, and we can do those when we need them and keep ourselves, as you said earlier, healthy and ready to take care of others. It's the least selfish thing you can do, is to take care of yourself first, because then you're available to take care of others, and then you have plenty of excess to give.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said. Yeah. It was one of the things that was so eye-opening to me was I tried for so many years to live like a sacral being.
Mhm.
working 8, 10, 12 hours a
Yeah.
day
Yep.
nonstop. And
Yep.
over time, a lot of projectors, this was my experience, and a whole lot of other projectors that I have worked beside have had significant burnouts and
Yes.
health
Yes.
collapses and different health
Hmm.
conditions because
Yeah.
it's when we burn out hard.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so learning to live from the start, I think it's
Hmm.
so beautifully empowering, I think, for more people to learn about this so that you can early in life live
Yes.
according to your design and actually design your life and create your life and just know that the Monday through Friday worker cycle is not going to be for you. Right.
Probably not. I mean, some people can manage it with if it's a passion job and if they take really good care of themselves and they have enough flexibility that it's not rigid, it can be done. It just needs intention and awareness and really paying attention to energy. As I've gotten older, I don't know if it's just because I've gotten older or because I've gotten wiser, hopefully, but I cannot force myself to do things that I don't have energy for. And I really use that as my sort of touchstone of, do I have energy for this? And like sometimes I'll be sitting behind my desk thinking, oh, I need to work on my website. I should da 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 da. But I look out the window, it's like, oh, I want to actually go pull those weeds. And that's where my energy wants to go. That's what I have energy for. And whenever I can, I try to sort of honor that, obey that, and go out and pull the weeds because I'm happy pulling the weeds. And then I'm happier when I come back to my desk to do my work. If I sit and force myself to do what doesn't feel right, I won't do a good job. I'll get distracted anyway. So I'm really better off following my energy. And that requires paying attention to what's going on in your body and your energy and really sensing, where's my energy? What do I have energy for? What is calling me right now?
That is gold, gold, gold. So speaking of directing energy, you're writing a book right now.
I am. I'm
You're
writing my
writing a
I'm
book.
I'm writing my second book.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Can you share with us a little bit about it?
Mhm.
And I know I'm so looking forward to diving into the subject. Part of the inspiration for creating the series was we're about a year away from
Right.
2027 and the
Hmm. hmm
2027 shift. So
Yep.
I'd love to
Yeah.
give you space to talk
Yeah.
about this
Yeah.
and your book and kind
hmm
of what you see coming.
Yes. Well, after I wrote my first book, which has sort of a 5-step process to becoming empowered, and it was very intentional in naming the first book Becoming an Empowered Projector, because some people had suggested just calling it The Empowered Projector. But to me, not all projectors could feel like they could get there. It's like it could feel like this distant ideal that I will never achieve. I will never be able to get there from where I am. And I didn't want people to react that way. I wanted them to know that there's a process. There's a step-by-step path that you can take that will help you become empowered, that it isn't impossible to get to from where you are. So, having said that, after writing that book, I realized that I really wanted to create some kind of workbook to accompany the first book to help really embody those steps. Not just intellectually read about them, but to actually have exercises and processes to help people integrate that into their lives and embody it fully. And so I already had that in my mind. And as I started working on it recently, I moved a bunch of times and, life got in the way. And finally, you have to wait for right timing. I had to wait for right timing for the first book. Karen had been asking me, almost begging me for years to write a book for projectors, and I just wasn't ready until I was. And then I was with an invitation, the publisher, Michelle Van de Pass. I was going to write a few short books on a different topic. And she said, Evelyn, why don't you just write your projector book? And I went, oh, it landed. And my splenic authority said, yeah, yeah, it's time. and and honestly, the outline for that book just poured out of me the next day onto paper, and I just filled it in from there. It didn't change at all. It was complete as it poured out. It was ready. This book is coming together in a different way. Um, but still, so I wanted to have that workbook aspect, but I also wanted to tie it into projectors and their role in 2027 and the shift. And as I've been writing that, the 2027 portion of the book has morphed into more and more because it's so important to understand where we've been, what's called the cross of planning, and the energies that imprinted us, that conditioned us for the last 400 years, that created the institutions and the things that we rely on, that we think sort of in our generation kind of think have always been here and will always be here. But there's this huge shift happening, and the background frequency on the entire planet is about to shift into its next 400-year cycle. And these energies are very different. So I look at where we've come from, what we're emerging from, and what we're emerging into, and how vital the projector role of guidance and awareness and consciousness is to helping to shape how we emerge in this new environment. Because the energies are the energies, but what we do with them is what matters. And so I wanted to, explain what those energies are and how it's shifting. Like there'll be a new emphasis on faith, faith in abundance, not necessarily religion, but faith, and a very strong emphasis on individual self-expression and uniqueness of individuality, where we've come out of a very tribal energy of tribe comes first, community. That's what built the banking system and the trade system and economics and government systems and all of these structures that helped support us and also allowed us to kind of externalize expertise and decisions. It's like, oh, we relied on experts to make decisions and to know things rather than ourselves. That is shifting. And as projectors, with our penetrating aura and our ability to guide the energies of others, we are perfectly positioned and vital in the process of helping to shape and guide how we as humans deal with this transition and begin to form something better out of the ashes of what's coming apart now in the moment. And honestly, knowing about this has helped me be far more calm in the chaos that we see around us, because I now know that it's not just random chaos. There is a process going on. And like when a wave is cresting, there's always turbulence sort of underneath the wave. When a change is shifting, there's always turbulence. There's always pushback. There are always the people who stand to lose the most out of the change are going to hold the tightest onto the old and try to pull it back. And that's actually not bad, because it forces us to reckon with where have we come from, what is still worth keeping, what worked and what didn't, and what can we incorporate into what we move forward with. And I think that's a vital role for projectors. I mean, we all have a role in what's happening, but I think it's a magnificent opportunity for projectors to step into their full power and really be fully available to fulfill their role in whatever way is correct for them. It can be one-on-one, it can be very small, it can be local, it can be big. We each have our role to play, and understanding your personal chart helps you to understand where you plug into the whole system and what feels correct for you. Like, for example, Casey, your chart, you are cross of contagion. You are designed to spread knowledge, spread information, spread inspiration. And that can be tricky for a projector. And I'm not surprised that you've had some burnout, because that's an energy that says, go, go, go. There's so much that has to be done. And your projector's energy is going, good. Does that give enough of a
Oh yeah, I
introduction?
just have chills the whole time you were speaking in that segment. I just have chills running up and down my spine the entire time. Yes, I mean, I have been blown away this year, particularly just in the last few weeks as we get further into 2026, and how many projectors in my world I watch them rising. I see them stepping into greater levels of visibility and empowerment
Nice.
and
Nice.
coherence, and I can see it happening. It's so neat to see something that you've only read about and then seeing it start to happen, and it's like,
Yes.
wow, okay, I can see this happen, and what we're leaving and what's to come. And
Yes.
almost it's such a powerful time of like living into the prophecy in so
Yes.
many ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's happening around us whether we're ready or not. And the more ready we are, the more we can participate and feel like we're making a difference. One of the chapters I'm starting says, it's rare that anyone gets an opportunity to participate in something that has global impact. And we are at that point, and we have that opportunity now.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. So beautiful. Let's dive in. Thank you for naming that because yes, it's exactly my cross of contagion has gotten me into trouble in the past. Yes, I'm very enthusiastic. And I remember even as a little kid, as soon as I started walking, I was running everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah.
always that kid that were like, why are you running? And I was just always running and I just have things to do and people to share with.
Yeah.
And what I've really learned is, and to Evelyn's point about why having a reading and really understanding your specific unique blueprint is so important because knowing I have that, I understand like I'm here to be a spore of sorts and spread spores. And I'm doing
Great
that
analogy.
quite literally. But it's how I do it is being in alignment with my projector style. So for me,
Yeah.
it's all about systems.
Yeah.
And so, for example, like now I work very selectively. I typically work in groups so that
Hmm.
I can work one to many
Hmm.
and have very potent fixed energy that's not
Yes.
necessarily consistent. And when
Right.
I work with one-to-one individuals now, I nearly always work with people who influence millions of people.
Hmm. We
So
call that
it's
leverage.
yes. And so it's like it's me living my cross of contagion design
Right.
because my guidance then can help support this person who
Right.
is playing and speaking and performing to millions of people and
Right.
holding influence
Yes.
over people. But I
Yes.
can
That's
stay
great.
in my design and alignment at the
Yes.
same time. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Really. Yes. Yes. As projectors, we want to leverage our energy, our knowledge, our reach as much as possible so that we don't have to do all that work. We can help others who then go out and do that work.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Reading. I know you have done a lot of readings, personal
Yes.
readings. So if someone is new, I know we have a lot of folks here listening for the first time coming to human
Mhm.
design. If someone is getting a reading for the first time, what are the most important aspects do you think to tune into when you're first learning your design?
Hmm. I have sort of a hierarchical structure of sorts,
Of course you do.
and of
One
course,
kind.
I'm 1-3. So yeah.
Yep.
Um, so the first is understanding projector, understanding being a projector, the energy of the projector, the role of the projector, the challenges of the projector, bitterness, burnout, the whole invitation recognition thing, just really understanding all of that. And almost every person who comes to me for a reading now who is a projector has already read my book, which is wonderful because then they have that baseline of understanding and we don't have to spend time on those issues, just touch on them just to make sure they're clear, but then we can go deeper into the chart more quickly. So type and strategy are first. Authority is crucial. Um, Profile is also crucial. So you're 3-5. I give you a little story about 1-3. So I'm a 1-3, which means I'm investigative and I'm experimental. So I like to figure it out, dive in, and then I like to play with it and see what works. And when I learned that, I went, oh my God, when I was in the business world, working in an office environment, we were just starting to use Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel. Okay. And I found those fascinating. It's like, wow, they can do so much. I would literally take the manual home with me. And the manual was like 400 or 500 pages for each one, for one for Excel and one for Word. I would take the manual home. I would read a chapter or two, take a whole bunch of notes. And then the next day I'd go into the office and I'd play with what I had learned. It's like, oh, that's what that means. Oh, that's what that looks like. Oh, now I understand. And the next night I'd take the book home again and I'd do the next few chapters and then I'd go in and I experiment with it the next day. That was exactly what a 1-3 does. And a 1-3 usually is an amazing resource for people because I've studied it and I've tried it and I know what works and what doesn't work. And I became the go-to person in the office for how to get, how does it work? How do I do this in Excel? How do I do that in Word? That's right. Right. So profile is like the personality style that you bring to your role. And it's really helpful to know your 3-5, you're experimental, and your fifth line also wants to kind of be the superpower and save the day and take care of everybody and fix everything. And so understanding all of that, just those pieces alone can help you to first give yourself grace and not feel like you're broken anymore. So many projectors, so many people in general, but especially projectors, often feel broken, like there's something wrong with me. I don't keep up. Things don't work the same way they work for other people. What's wrong with me? Why can't I do these things? Why can't I make this happen? And when you're not feeling broken anymore, then you can, okay, I have some important things about me that are kind of unique to me. And now I can fulfill those and support those rather than trying to be something that I'm not. And so just those basic things about yourself are enough to really get your feet under you and say, okay, this is who I am. And I understand now to make a big decision. So if you have a job opportunity that's going to be a 60-hour work week, that's, crazy, maybe that's not for you. And you don't have to prove yourself by doing that. Say, okay, that's not me. Let me find something that fits me better. And then I can fulfill my potential rather than beating myself up trying to fit my square peg into a round hole or whatever that is, which is how projectors often feel. We're these square pegs, we're trying to shove ourselves into these round holes and we just don't fit. And the world, it's not anybody's fault, but the world is not designed for us as projectors. The generators and manifesting generators are the 70% of the population. So they set the tone. They sort of set the expectations of this Energizer Bunny energy. And they just naturally assume that everyone is like them because they don't know that we're not. And so we have to figure out how to navigate our way in this world that is not really designed for us yet. And so we do that by knowing ourselves and honoring ourselves and finding our own path. And the more you know about your chart, the deeper you get into the details, then that's also helpful. Incarnation cross is a great sort of background, kind of big picture, like sort of how you're here to be and do what you're here to be and do. And that's an important piece. And then just understanding the gates and the channels and the influences that are present for you. What is defined in the chart, what's colored in, whether it's a center, the geometric shape, or the gates and channels, it's kind of like you have your finger plugged into the socket of each of those energies, and the energy flows through you and broadcasts out 24/7. So everything that's defined in the chart is like broadcasting out. Okay, everything that's white in the chart is called undefined or open, and that takes in and amplifies other people's energy. And when you understand that difference, and then you understand the centers are really the next big piece, is understanding behaviors and centers. Here's an example, the emotional solar plexus center. If you have it open, which about 50% of the population do, you and I included, we take in and amplify other people's emotional energy. Emotional energy can be really intense. Okay. And when you don't know that it's not yours, we often mistakenly assume that it is us. And then we get really confused. Like, why am I feeling this? I don't understand. And it's kind of like being like a cork bobbing on the ocean, being knocked over by wave after wave. It's like, woo, and then you come up for air and you get knocked over again. When you understand how that works, we have a mantra in human design that says, be a screen, not a sponge. Be a screen, not a sponge. And when you can be a screen and let other people's emotional energy flow through you like a breeze goes through a screen door, that's the way it's designed to work. You don't have to be at the mercy of other people's energy. You can be aware of it, but you don't have to react to it. You don't have to embody it. You can just be aware of it. And then you can stand in your power. Every open center has a predictable behavior pattern associated with it. And the predictable behavior pattern for the open solar plexus is trying to keep everybody happy. Don't rock the boat, don't make waves, and it makes sense. If you're going to feel someone else's upset more intensely than they feel it, of course you don't want to upset them. Like, okay, I'm just going to keep you over there and happy, copacetic. That way I don't have to deal with your tsunami wave of emotional energy. But when you can be a screen, not a sponge, when you understand what's happening, then you can stand in your power. You can speak your truth. You don't have to be afraid of other people's emotional reactions because they're going to react the way they react anyway. We can't really control other people's emotions anyway. And the important part is standing in your power. When you're trying to keep everybody happy, you're not standing in your power. Okay, so that's just one example out of the nine nine centers and how important and useful those are to understand in everyday life.
Hmm. Beautiful. I think one of the most empowering things I have found is really understanding the difference in designs and people's blueprints so that we can relate in alignment and attune ourselves to how they learn, grow,
Yes,
heal,
yes,
everything,
right. Yes,
And
yes.
I've really been seeing that over the last months and as we get further into this year, where as we move away from the tribal planning phase that you
Mm-hmm.
referenced and
Mm-hmm.
into this more, we're moving into the cross of the sleeping phoenix,
Mix. Yes,
correct?
that's correct.
Now
Yes, yep.
I love
That's what
that
it's
name.
called.
Yes, and the shift happens February of 2027, so
That's
we're
correct.
now
Hmm.
under a year away,
Yep.
and I can really start to see the shift in people that people are wanting to operate more as individuals, to
Yes.
express
Yes.
themselves more and stand their
Yes.
ground more.
Yes.
And
Yes.
people who've
Yep.
been quiet all of their lives and kind of just went along with the program aren't
Mm-hmm.
going along with the program anymore. And so
Exactly.
sometimes people who are still very much in that tribal way of being
Hmm.
are fearful, are having
Yes.
fearful responses when it's really just
Hmm.
freedom. People are
Hmm.
moving into a greater sense of freedom
Right.
and individuation.
Right.
And so I'm really what you shared earlier, I'm really seeing kind of play out on the field of life right now that one of the
Hmm.
greatest things we can do in preparation for 2027 is to move into love and
Yes.
freedom
Yes.
versus
Yes. Yes.
fear and
Right.
control and things
Right.
needing to
Right.
be a certain way
Right.
to make
Right.
ourselves feel safe. So,
Right.
and all of the
Exactly.
people you're supporting, I know you're writing a lot these days, but in the
Hmm.
people in the readings that you're seeing, I'm curious, the projectors that you're working with, what are they? Do you see any threads and themes in them, edges? Like, are they working on specific things right now?
They're mostly working on really being their best selves
Mm.
and understanding their past so that they can kind of get beyond it and make peace with it and say, okay, what I did maybe looked crazy at the time, but now I understand it was actually perfectly aligned with, with how I'm designed and it was really the right thing to do. Okay, I don't have to beat myself up about that anymore. Now I can really focus on where I am now and how I move forward. And so it's really a sense of completion and making peace with a lot of the past. And people standing, as you were saying, sort of standing more in their power. And the new era, this sleeping phoenix era, is really more self-reliance and less reliance on external authority. So those who have a lot of tribal energy in their chart are probably going to be the ones who are most disconcerted about this shift because what they've relied on externally is going to be shifting and changing. And that's where we really, they will still have tribal energy in their chart. That doesn't go away, but the background frequency is going to change and they will need to focus more on themselves and self-reliance. And it's mostly about decision making and understanding your authority so that you make decisions in alignment that's correct for you. And you're not externalizing your decisions or saying, well, what should I do? Or, relying on external, even for like medical things, well, there's this and this and this. You need to tune in and say, what feels correct for of these choices or other choices that they're not listing? what feels correct and aligned for me and not give away your power for decision making. And that's going to be challenging for some people.
100%. Yeah, so aligned in what we're seeing in our work and our containers and healing and the guides is moving. One of the reasons I love the term guides and I love using the
Yeah.
term guides is it's novel and like no one knows quite what to make of it yet. And instead
Right.
of kind of in the healing world, people are used to going for the prescription, the instructions,
Mm-hmm.
being told what to
Right.
do. What's wrong with you? You
Right.
are this
Right.
diagnosis, you are this
Right.
condition.
Hmm.
and the person doesn't have a
Exactly.
lot of participation in it.
Right.
And
Right.
I see people, when you go to a guide, it's really about being witnessed and
Hmm.
seen so that
Hmm.
people can step into their own empowerment and their own
Exactly.
intuition. And I see people when they're held in that way, if they last ask more questions, it's more about an affirmation
Hmm.
of what they
Hmm.
know to be true for
For
themselves.
themselves. Yes. 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 I think that the another way to describe the role of guiding is to help people find their own clarity and their own alignment and their own right timing. Not about dictating that to them. It's about helping them find their own.
Beautiful. Love it. Love it. So great. So grateful. So excited for your book. Very excited for 2027. Is there anything else in closing that you would love to reflect on for our projector listeners?
Yes, I would love to share with you the four-step process that came to me many years ago for self-love. And I do have it in my first book, but I want to share it now because self-love, as I was saying earlier about self-value, is an inside job. Self-love is where your power begins. And not power like force external, but personal power, standing in your confidence, standing in your truth, and standing in the value that you bring in your own way, in your own time, and not worrying about judgment from other people. So there are four steps. The first step is to know yourself, self awareness. And human design is brilliant as a tool in helping us to understand okay, this is who I am, this is how I'm wired. Okay, I see that, I get that. That's the first step. The second step is to accept yourself. Okay, now that I know who I am, okay, now I got to be okay with it. Like, okay, because sometimes we say, okay, this is who I am. I don't want to be that. I don't accept that. That's not okay with me. And understandably, a lot of projectors, and myself included, when I first, it's like, oh man, I don't know what if I want to be a projector. That sounds like a really hard type to be. It's not fair. I want to be something different. But so that second step is accepting. It's like, okay, this is who I am, and I get it. And yeah, I may not like everything about me, but I'm okay. I got it. Okay. So that's the next. The third step is to respect yourself, to honor yourself. It goes beyond just acceptance. Acceptance means okay. Honoring means, yeah, I'm good. I actually like myself. I respect myself. I honor myself. There still may be some pieces I don't really love or like, and that's okay. I can be with that. But overall, I'm okay. I'm okay. I feel pretty okay with myself. And then it isn't actually too far from that to step into the full self-love, full unconditional self-love of I love all of me, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I'm okay. And here I stand ready to be the full expression of who I am.
Mm, I love that we close on that note because it is really underlying everything.
It
When
does.
you truly love yourself and love who you are and know who you are, that's when you can love others.
Exactly.
It's
Yes.
oh, it's
Yes.
really like you said, the analogy you shared earlier about the saucer and the cup,
Right.
right?
Right.
When that is kind of your default operating system of moving through the world in that way, from
Hmm.
overflow and abundance, that's
Hmm.
it all starts with your relationship with yourself. So
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
love that. Thank you. So where can folks find you and follow your work? And we'll of course stay tuned for your book release.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I have a website, humandesignforsuccess.com, but I actually have an easier way to get to me. It's called empoweredprojector.com. Just go to empoweredprojector.com and I will and there's a page there that will have you can sign up to get information about my progress on my book and when it will be available for pre-sale. And I have some free things for projectors. I have a projector roadmap. I have some other free things for projectors. And then of course you can find out about readings and other courses and things like that. So it's all there, empoweredprojector.com.
Ah, wonderful. We love our one lines. Thank God for you
and,
guys.
and see, I know I'm not designed to do what you do. You're designed to do what you do. I do it differently, and we honor that and celebrate that and feel good about that. It's like I don't have to try to be you, which
One
would make me crazy, right? And vice versa, right?
1000%. It's so funny. We often are asked. I have a kind of global community of guides, and we all essentially do the same thing. We're all earth medicine guides, and people are like, "Well, what are you all?" But we are all so absolutely, completely unique to each
Yes.
other,
Right,
right? And we're
right.
all doing things in our own way. And the more you're doing things in your own way, truly, you will attract those people that are meant to learn and be guided by you.
Precisely. Yes.
So,
Yes.
yes.
Well said.
Yes. Thank you so, so much, Evelyn. It's been such a
Oh, you're
joy to be with you.
welcome.
As I shared, your book has meant so much to me and so much to many, many other projectors around the world. So thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you. Makes me very happy to hear that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Aw, thanks, everybody. We'll be back soon with another session. See you soon. Thank you for listening to the Microdosing for Healing podcast. Ready to take the next step? Please visit us online at microdosingforhealing.com. There you'll find lots of information about our global community, professional training programs, and upcoming immersions. See you there.